December. We'll call this meeting to order December 1st at 6:01 p.m. First order of business is a pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Jackie, will you take roll call?
Yeah. Counselor Coker.
Counselor Coker is excused tonight for a doctor's visit.
Okay. Counselor Bjornson.
Here.
Counselor Whitney.
Here.
Counselor Hooker.
Here.
Mayor Hollett.
Here.
Counselor Kenyon.
Here.
Counselor Splitoff.
Here.
Thank you. Additions, corrections, and adjustments to the agenda. I have a few. I am removing number 17, executive session tonight. We're going to do that probably next week. So mark that off of tonight. Thank you for those who have turned in an evaluation. If you have not done that yet, please email that to me or talk to me. And we are going to move 9.2 up to 9.1. And then we're also going to move 9.7 up to 9.2. So that'll put Steve Abel up first. And Melissa with Rain number 2, and then the committee appointments will actually be 9.3. Okay, mayor comments. I have a couple of things. We have an after action coming up next week. Sarah Ultimus and the U of O is going to be hosting that, and that is going to be based on the air quality and air situations that arise during the Cedar Creek, and that is Tuesday or no, Monday. And city staff is welcome to come. I will send out an invite to particular city staff that I hope will be joining us. That is Monday the 5th at 1 p.m. and it should be 2 hours, and it will be by Zoom as well as in person at the OIP office.
I believe that's true.
Okay. We've had multiple after actions on the Cedar Creek fire. I hope this will be the last after action. I don't know of any more taking place. Do you?
No, I think that's it. There is, the county is working on their master plan. for
Revising.
emergency, so there'll be some after action involved in that process too.
Yeah, ongoing. Other things we do have coming up. We have the city party invitation. James has it out front, and that will be hitting your emails hopefully tomorrow. Those of you that are city staff or elected officials or city volunteers. Councilor Kenyon, do you want to mention Toys for Tots in yours? If you don't mind just mentioning something about it. Under councilor comments.
Okay.
And then the city tree lighting is going to be at the Artworks on Saturday, about 7 p.m. Usually the parade takes off at 5:30 from the fire department, and that wraps around the Willamette City side and then comes up to the Uptown side through 2nd Street and down 1st Street, I believe. Try to arrive at the tree, and then this year's tree lighting, thanks to James, is going to be at the Artworks. It's that giant cedar tree right out front. Should be about 7 o'clock. Tony Wazenberg is taking the lead on that, and she is putting her building up as the party event place. She is looking for a large canopy, if anyone has one, something with 3 sides, since it is predicted to be pretty cold out. So if you have one, please get in touch with me or her. There's gonna be cookies and ciders and cocoa and choirs, singers and things like that, so it should be really fun. And then as always, the parade is collecting toys for tots and food for Lane County.
Let's just to make sure people understand that that's next Saturday. the 10th,
I'm
correct?
sorry, yeah, if I didn't say that, that is next Saturday, the 10th. This Saturday is the Sugar Plum though, and also breakfast with Santa at the fire department. I've been talking a little bit with the county regarding warming center. They are going to be getting in touch with Kathy Holston about our warming center. And then also there is a possibility of attaining some permanent pallet structures that we had before that are going to be up for availability. So I'm working on that. It won't probably happen this season, but I am going to, I've already let them know that there's a possibility we're interested, but still at this point, we don't have a permanent house for them. So if somebody would like to get involved in that, please let me know too. I'll pass that info to James. That's all I have for mayor announcements. Council comments and announcements? Go ahead.
I had a couple of things in my notes that I wanted to follow up on. I haven't seen a policy come through to us for the signboards that we got, so I wanted to get that, be thinking about that or get that started. Also, I wanted to check in about the water tower thing. Is the person who was interested in painting, have they presented anything yet, or?
I would need to get back with them. I haven't talked to her since she finished the job over here, but I can definitely get a hold of them.
Okay. And then I can make announcement about Toys for Tots. The last day to pre-register online is December 3rd. There are multiple links to the site, or you can just go to Toys for Tots, I think .com or .org. The flyer right there. Oh, here we go. It's actually toysfortots.org to pre-register. And the reason why that's really helpful is because then they bring up age and interest appropriate toys for the people that have already signed up. But if you don't get a chance to do that, people can register on site on the distribution day, which is December 17th from 4 to 6 p.m. at the Oak Ridge Fire Department. And that's all I have on that.
Okay. Any other council comments? Chief Martin, go ahead. Yeah, I know I have down Chief Martin has something on ballot measure number 114.
Yeah, Mayor, Council, and citizens, I have been spending a lot of extra time working on ballot measure 14. Hold on. I've been appointed to a statewide committee for doing the in-person, I don't know what I'll call it. It's not training, but we have to certify people on whether they can load, unload, lock, and safely store a firearm. There's a lot of unknown still. The worrisome part is for cities, counties, pretty much everybody is, unless a federal judge stays the case, which may happen tomorrow morning or may not happen tomorrow morning. December 8th at midnight, people will no longer be able to purchase a firearm in Oregon. So there could be thousands of people that have had their Second Amendment rights violated. That's for the courts to decide, but it's troublesome from us because we're gonna have citizens show up at the police department and want to be able to get a permit, because now you have to have a permit to purchase a firearm, which lasts for about 5 years. We have to do fingerprints and then have this in-person training. So it's going to take staff time and time to do the fingerprints. The fingerprint part is a little problematic because we can only charge $65 for the fingerprint part, but Oregon State Police gets 45 of that. The other troublesome part is that FBI has not said they're even going to allow the fingerprints to go through. So all stuff we are working through as a Chiefs Association, Sheriff's Association, and a lot of things. But if people have individual questions, there's a lot of stuff some things I can answer and something I can't, because there's so many things we don't know. And we've asked many questions to the Oregon Attorney General and Department of Justice, and they have not answered a lot of those questions yet. But the deadline is December 8th, so we will work through it the best of we can. As a chief, I just don't want any of our citizens to be burdened by this, but it will be impossible for us as law enforcement to implement that by December 8th, which we are mandated to do by the bill. So bear with you, and I'll bring back information at other times when I have more information. There's just so many things not answered. But James just wanted me to give a little brief. Again, I'm on the committee, part of the committee for trying to figure this out. So if anybody has any individual questions, you can hit me up offline and I can try to explain to you that process as best I can.
Thank you, Chief. Is there any counselor questions for Chief Martin on that? Okay,
There's nowhere in Oak Ridge that a person can buy a handgun, right?
not right now, but I do know there is one business that's trying to open up a gun sales place. So probably not right now, but in the future, it could affect us.
We actually have several FFLs in Oak Ridge, so people can buy a handgun or buy any firearm here.
Just not
There's no more business brick and mortar stores. Probably the closest thing to that would be the Cowgirl restaurant. The husband also has
Yeah,
he's more of a gunsmith, but he also does some of that stuff. I think that's the closest to brick and mortar we have, but we have several private individuals that do it in other residences.
Interesting.
okay. Okay, thank you, Chief Martin.
Okay.
All right, consent agenda.
Mayor, I'd like to suggest that we don't cover the consent agenda. I have some adjustments that need to be approved or
Okay,
gone through.
okay, I'll mark that one off. All right, moving down to business from City Council. First up is Mr. Steve Abel. We do have an agenda for this one. Hope you've all had a chance to take a look at the personal service contract that he supplied us. This is for the feasibility work to explore special districts or other options. Go ahead, Steve.
First of all, thank you for inviting me and allowing me to participate via Zoom. For anybody maybe listening in, I was contacted, good grief, it's probably a month, 2 months ago, to explore the option of some kind of a feasibility study to potentially incorporate the three entities into a unified entity, into a special district, or an enhanced 190 agreement. And in that, we've had a few preliminary meetings to really get a handle on what the interests are. I met with the mayor of Westford and had a phone conversation with Hazeldale to find out more of what their interests are. I shared with all entities that I feel that each of the three entities needs to feel like they have an individual that's representing their interests as well on there. So from that, from the meetings, I put together originally a draft personal services contract with the attachment A scope of work that would outline the types of work and the information that we'd be putting together. In this, I wanted to make sure everybody understood that there is staff time. I mean, Oak Ridge staff time and a little bit from Hazeldale and Westford involved, because there's a lot of data that needs to be accumulated and put together. Any kind of a study, while its primary purpose is for the elected officials to have enough information to make an informed decision on what direction they wanted to go, but also having a document that any member of the public could pick up and have a pretty good idea of what's involved, what the pros, what the cons are, and so forth, so they would have an idea as well. So you have before you Again, it was originally put together as a draft. I hadn't heard any comments back for anything to change on that of a personal services contract to put together that study, and looking that it would be completed within 90 to 120 days. And again, that includes the meetings, the travel back and forth, as well as the printing of the documents. So I'm available to answer questions if any of the council members or others have questions regarding this.
Thank you, Steve. Go ahead, Counselor.
I just wondered if we could give a short description of what I forget the exact words, but something 190.
NORS 190 agreement.
Yeah,
IGA.
that's an IGA that we already have.
We have,
We have multiple
we have the
IGAs.
IGAs for police services, Westford, and an IGA with Lowell for police. services.
Right. So, but what he's suggesting that he would be presenting us, if he does the feasibility study, is either information on consolidating into a special district or,
Mhm. Enhancing. So right now we have those IGAs. I think is what he was saying, meaning is by enhancing those IGAs would be the fire authority model. But in Oregon, it's not recognized as the term fire authority, even though that's what we call it. It's really an enhanced 190 agreement. Is that correct, Steve?
It is typically what the fire authority model does is through the agreement creates a third entity, or in this case, it'd be a fourth entity that would be managing the fire services within the three jurisdictions. So right now, what you have is an IGA between Westford and Hazeldale for the city of Oak Ridge to provide fire protection services. If the organizations decided to look at I'm going to use the term fire authority model, but I'm using that as a separate entity model, that the three entities would actually create another entity which would provide the services. And that's generally what the fire authority concept is on there. And that has some positives to it. It also has some negatives to it, which would be outlined in there. But
okay,
there's several options of having, for instance, Hazeldale just annex, create another special district, go to the fire authority model, enhance an IGA, or maintain as it is. One of the big concerns, and I know with each of the three communities, is ambulance services and trying to figure out a way that that could be sustainable. As I understand, running into a deficit, if I've read the documentation correctly, that would need to be considered through this. So part of the meetings is to find out what the real interests are of each of the different parties and looking at that from several different angles and then trying to put together a budget to be able to support something like that. And that gets to be a little bit more complicated with the Oregon Constitution now limiting property tax to the $10 per thousand. And each of the three entities right now, as I understand, are in compression. So there's a lot that has to go in there and crunching numbers, some GIS work, we talked about some mapping work, looking at some of the census data and so forth.
okay, so you, in other words, you would be presenting all of us with all of those options.
Yeah, in order for the council and the board members, the council of the two cities and the board members of Hazeldale, you really need to know what the different options are and positives and negatives of those to be able to make a decision to move forward or to not to move forward on any one of those.
Okay, thank you.
Did you have any question?
The only question I have, talked about travel. Will the travel costs be included in that $9,000?
I can answer that. The answer is yes, it's all inclusive on that.
Okay, thank you.
Counselor Hooker, Sweetoff, or Bjarnson, do you have any questions for Steve?
No.
No.
Thank you.
Thing at this time, thank you.
Okay. Well, do we have a motion? Go
So,
ahead.
yeah, I'll make a motion, but I just wanted to say, I think this is something that's been a long time coming. I think we should have done this a long time ago.
Agreed.
And I'm really glad that we've made this decision to at least do this piece, and it's gonna give us a better idea of how to move forward and in a more professional way instead of just based on a lot of opinions from a lot of people. So
Great.
with that said, I move to approve the draft personal services contract with Steve Abel and Associates LLC for $9,000 for completion of a special fire district feasibility study.
I'll
I'll
second that.
second that.
Motion made by Counselor Whitney and seconded by Counselor Hooker. Any other discussion?
Yes,
Go ahead, Counselor Spleedoff.
I was reading in there that both Hazeldale and Westford are going to be talking this over too. Westford is not gonna have their meeting till the 5th, so does this affect it? Because we're all conglomerated into one thing.
So
on
we
that.
we have our own agreement with Mr. Abel. And he is working with those entities and they have their own, well, it's the same contract, it looks like, but I don't think there's any issues if they have a signature on a different date than us.
Okay, that's it.
Any other?
It would probably just mean that he won't start until he has signatures from all three entities.
Would that be correct, Steve?
Not necessarily. I really need to find out what Westford's interests are, since I know that they've sworn in their own fire chief and making sure they want to move forward with this. But again, I've talked with the mayor and it sounds like this was over a month ago, but if they want to continue moving forward with this, I'd start gathering data. Looking at this timeline, we really need to move on it fairly quickly.
Agreed. Yeah. Well, my only discussion is I reiterate what Counselor Whitney said. I think this has been a long time coming. We wanted this years ago, and I'm really glad that we're taking the steps to have a professional who has done this all over the state in multiple different, not just special districts, but different 190 agreements. And also Steve has done things outside of the box. So I'm really excited to have Steve on board doing it with his knowledge over the state, and there's also his knowledge about right here in this area. And to give us some of his opinions on this, how this could work in our area or could not work. If it doesn't work, either way, I'm really excited to move forward on this. Is there any more discussion? Scott, did you have anything, since it does involve the fire department?
No, I've read through it and I'm definitely in support of doing the study.
Okay. All right, Jackie, will you call for the vote?
Counselor Spleedoff, Counselor Hooker.
Aye.
Counselor Kenyon,
Aye.
Mayor Hollett,
Aye.
Counselor Bjornson,
Aye.
Counselor Whitney.
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you, guys. Did she get yours?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know how long I'll.
Okay. All right, motion carried. And thank you to our finance director, pointed out to me that I missed, or our city administrator, public comment. I do see on the screen, it's mostly counselors, but a couple guests. Is there anyone that has public comment that I may have missed? Okay, moving forward. Sorry about that. My apology.
There are two of them.
Yeah, they're not raising their hands, though. I'm not seeing.
They got their hands raised.
Oh, they do? Oh,
Yes.
Dan and
Dan
Trudy.
Barkley.
okay. We can't see it from this side. So, Trudy, go ahead first.
Hi, Trudy Hammond, 76349 Willamette Way. My question actually is, with the 9,000, is that going to be all three entities putting that money out there, or is it just the city of Oak Ridge that pays for that?
It's three separate entities. So 9,000 is what the city of Oak Ridge's portion is, and then Westford has their own portion and Hazeldale has their own portion.
Okay, thank you.
Side. Okay, Mr. Barclay, go ahead.
Yeah, Barclay 47501 Highway 58. First of all, congratulations to the newly elected council members and my deepest respect for the current council, including those that will depart their office later this month. That respect is for a one-of-a-kind council that, despite criticism, innuendo, and frequent character assassination in social media, tabloid-esque reporting, and other venues, weathered the attacks and fulfilled their official duties for the entire term of their office up to now. That hasn't happened in 20 years. It doesn't matter whether I or anyone else agrees with the outcome, only that roughly 1,300 Oak Ridge voters decided it. And I'm content with having voted for 6 members of this council, just as I'm content having voted for 5 members of the next council. And the balance of my comment is regarding agenda item 9.5. According to ORS 192.650, recorded or written minutes require, not suggest, that all minutes or recordings shall be available within a reasonable time after the meeting, to include specific elements such as members present, motions, proposals, resolutions, the results of all votes, so on and so forth. Section 22 of the Oak Ridge City Charter states that the recorder shall serve ex officio as clerk of the council. Yet hard copy minutes for council meetings are roughly 6 months in arrears, and recordings were unavailable between mid-February and June. Turning the page. And obviously reasonable is, I could ask everybody in the room what reasonable is and we come up with a different timeline. But hell, a 127,000 acre fire didn't take that long to extinguish. While we're waiting on, the people that rely on hard copies, haven't had them in 6 months. The people that rely on the videos that can't attend the meetings haven't had, there was a four-month gap there. We need to do better with that. Admittedly, videos are generally available in a timely manner, but reasonable shouldn't be 6 months for those unable to attend meetings, binge watch 2-hour video recordings, or rely on routinely biased media or social media accounts. As a suggestion, when council deliberates policy tonight, because whatever policy you're using is not working, I would suggest that videos be posted no later than the Monday following regular session, which shouldn't be insurmountable given the expertise of the CA and mayor-elect, followed by a hard copy deadline of the Monday between regular sessions, as transcription is more time sensitive. The deadlines would promote council transparency, create a better informed constituency, and allow currency of the requirement to provide an official record of public meetings. And lastly, I do appreciate everybody's busy and, the plate gets full and it overflows sometimes and so on and so forth, but it is a job. And as long as you're getting a paycheck and cashing a paycheck, as Phil Knight would say, just do it. And I did say lastly, watch out where the Huskies go and don't you eat the yellow snow.
All right. Is there more public comment? Counselor Spleedoff, are you able to see anybody with the hands raised? I'm unable to see more people.
Nobody down here.
Thank you, Counselor. All right, moving on to the RAIN presentation, and we're going to call that 9.2. Melissa, go ahead. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you to Mayor Holett for inviting me. Thank you, counselors, for having me. And thank you to all those city members who are here as well. Am I able to share my screen?
Yes, let's, there we go.
Okay, there it is. So first of all, I want to introduce myself as Melissa Prestanario, your new venture catalyst for RAIN. I'm assuming most of you know who RAIN is. Maybe all of you do. I do see many familiar faces and familiar names up on Zoom. I also want to apologize for not being there in person. I heard we were getting a lot of snow. It was coming down where I live, and I was a little nervous about the drive. So I haven't driven in snow in many, many, many years. So hence I'm on Zoom. So I do apologize for not being there in person. Are most people familiar with RAIN here?
Yes.
Okay, great. So what I want to do really is give you an overview a little bit of what we've accomplished since our inception, and then tell you a little bit about myself and what I'd love to do for Oak Ridge. So basically, RAIN is a regional accelerator and innovation network. I also like to say it's a rural accelerator and innovation network. And really, RAIN is here to fill in the gaps and to build an entrepreneurial ecosystem by elevating the whole ecosystem or town with the help that we can provide. So we don't really come in with a prescription, but what we do come in is we come in listening, and we want to create a support system based on you, local entrepreneurs and stakeholders would like to see happen in your community. So we don't want to come in with the goals. We want to hear from you. What are your goals? Then we want to come alongside you and support you in any way that we can. There are a few ways that we can support you. One is with people. We work really hard to connect you with mentors and industry experts and stakeholders that can help entrepreneurs and businesses succeed. I don't know if many of you know this, but we do have an advocacy person on staff. So I know many times there are things with the state over zoning and things like that that could ever be problems, or putting signs on highways. And if any of these things affect your town or your businesses, we do have an advocacy person that can possibly help with that. We do provide programs, not just directly in Oak Ridge, but throughout all of our counties. So training workshops, accelerators, which basically an accelerator is kind of like a term that not a lot of people use, but it's basically a startup coaching. So you have a business idea, you're not sure where to start, an accelerator helps accelerate you along that path. And then we have other educational programs. We just did a startup boot camp for people interested in selling at holiday markets. We've done boot camps for how to market, how to do social media marketing, and all those, many of those are available online and not just open to one particular community, but all of them. We also have physical assets. We want to help you if you need to find office space, tools, equipment, labs, and any other physical resources you would need to grow your venture, or to create your first minimum viable product, or to create your invention. We certainly want to help anybody who has a dream build it. And then capital, we don't personally provide capital, but we are ready to make introductions to you, to people who do provide capital, whether it be by way of loan or grant. And so wanting to keep everyone abreast of grants that people in Oak Ridge could possibly benefit from. So you see here on the right that these are our metrics since inception. We have assisted over 1,400 entrepreneurs. We've created 672 jobs. We have over 400 accelerator grads, $17.3 million revenue generated, and $8.7 million in capital raised. The capital we raise helps us to put on the programs that we provide through RAIN. Your city of Oak Ridge is one of our key partners. You have supported us being in your town since 2017. Does anyone have any questions about that before I move on to goals for Oak Ridge?
Go ahead, Counselor.
I wondered if you have any examples of current businesses in Oak Ridge that are here now because they have utilized your services.
Thank you so much for asking that. And I am very new, so unfortunately, I don't know exactly that. I know there is a Sarah Altimus Pope's daughter, I know, has a business that she started through RAIN. Chrissy, maybe you know?
I do know of a few. Jules Thai Place, she ran for a few years. Jules started her Thai restaurant pre-COVID and was at the distillery, but kind of once COVID hit, she really struggled. So I don't think she has that up and running. There's a few others aren't coming to my head right now, but I do remember that Oxa did a presentation one time and had about a dozen different places that RAIN had helped move their business along. Not all of them were successful, but they were all progress that RAIN was involved in.
That's great. And I'm sorry, I can't answer that question. I've really been only on the move here for about 2 months. So been doing a lot more listening than really going back into the history.
Thank you.
Yeah, anyone else? All right, so we're going to talk about Oak Ridge next. So RAIN in Oak Ridge this past year, so prior to me coming, 20 plus entrepreneurs have been mentored one-to-one. This is not including any entrepreneurs that have taken any of our online classes or group meetings. This is one-on-one entrepreneurship. We've completed over 15 plus events directly for Oak Ridge over the past year. As I said before, that I have only been here since October. And so, but the things that we've done in the past that we could do again would be, we are doing right now our monthly coffee meetups, one-on-one mentoring. I had a good turnout at the coffee meetup, was it Tuesday? And we had some new people with some new business ideas there. And so got to do some one-on-one mentoring there. We've done pub talks, we've done in-depth workshops, fireside chats. We hold a community presence at local festivals and fairs. So you'll see me all at the Sugar Plum Festival this weekend. And then community participation with the Oak Ridge Westford Chamber of Commerce and Chamber partners. So what's next? So the past 3 months have been spent really getting to know many of you, getting to know entrepreneurs and asking what's important to them. And these are the suggestions that I will focus on. Making sure all RAIN activities are mapped out in advance and made available by the Chamber's calendar and Oak Ridge social media apps. I'm working closely with Mayor Holett on this and Colleen as well. And we definitely want to come up with a calendar that is reachable by everybody, easily accessible, so everyone knows what's going on in Oak Ridge so that we can support each other. Also working with Mayor Holett on this as well, consolidating our mailing list. And we want to ensure that the people who want to be notified of events are being notified, and also people who don't want to be notified of events are not being notified. I often get, here and there, I'm no longer in business or I've moved, please take me off your mailing list. So I'm really wanting to work on getting an accurate list of everyone that wants to be involved. We're going to continue our coffee meetups and one-to-one mentorship monthly. I'm going to continue my involvement in chamber meetings and our chamber partner meetings and your local events. I've heard from entrepreneurs that they want to plan activities that are after hours so that more residents can attend. And really, when we do that, this can be anything from starting your business 101, how to form an LLC, to branding and marketing. It really can be whatever people are most interested in. So another thing that I heard from the community is wanting some type of multi-use space for entrepreneurs and vendors to be able to be a hub for their businesses, whether it's a co-working space or a place. The thought is that if you have a multi-use space, then rather than one entrepreneur having to pay monthly rent, that maybe they could rent a space for a certain amount of time to sell their wares or their food or whatever it is. So that's something that we've talked about and talking to some different stakeholders about how to formulate that. And then there was another suggestion of hosting a New Year, New Business event in January, which I would like to work on, probably in conjunction with the chamber, to do that, to coach people on how to start up a new business with just an idea. And then I really want to focus on partnering with other organizations. For example, I want to partner with SWFC in Oak Ridge by offering financial and personal support. We're looking at a seminar on how to gain government contract work. We have a few entrepreneurs whose family members or husbands work for ODOT and maybe want to go out on their own. And it would be very useful to them to know how to gain government contract work. So a little bit about me, why entrepreneurs? For me, there's nothing more exciting than discovering another person who also has a dream and is willing to take a risk to see it come true. I'm a founder myself. I founded a company called Seat Slicker way back in 2012. It really went to the national market in 2017. I had the first fashionable and waterproof bicycle seat cover. I also have many years of experience as a marketing person and program director, having spent almost 7 years at Stanford University running one of the largest programs there for the university. And I love a dream builder. I love a dreamer because all you have to do is take a few steps to start seeing things come into fruition. So I feel like I'm a good person to encourage people that you don't have to have it all figured out. You just have to start taking steps in the right direction, and you too can have a business. So that's really it for my presentation. I'd like to open it up to questions or even advice if there's things that you would like to see happening in your community that we can possibly help with.
Well, I'll start. I don't really have any questions because I have been attending the coffee meetups and a lot of the RAIN events through OXA, and met with Robert, and now attending the events with Melissa. And I really think that they offer so much. I'm really excited about some of the stuff that Melissa's been talking about, especially I think we talked about doing some business workshops, kind of a, like a, what did we talk about? A presentation, and then having like little subcategories where people could go and talk about, their LLC or Facebook page or those kind of things. Just, I think those types of events after hours would be really helpful for new businesses. The community calendar, we talked about that with Colleen. So we've kind of started that already, and I'm excited to see that hit. I think having that as a hub with RAIN, and then also the city of Oak Ridge having it on the website, will be a really good central place for people to access that and add it to their own personal calendars. A lot of the ideas that you have, I think, are just really helpful for those people in this area. And Melissa, I really think has a great personality to connect with people here in Oak Ridge, and she brings a lot to the table. So I really hope those people that are interested and kind of, trying to find their footing and how they start a business, really reach out to her, because she can't possibly say everything in 10 minutes what she's able to do. But once you get talking to her, it's like, opening a big book, and then you keep stumbling on more things that she's able to help you with. So yeah, I just really encourage people to reach out to her.
Thank you. And I am totally available one-on-one anytime. Anyone can contact me at any time to ask me any question that is very specific to them. I teach a pre-accelerator and an accelerator for the city of Eugene through Onward Eugene. This is not new information to me. So I love to share it. Yeah, and I love to encourage people that they don't have to have it all figured out, because I certainly didn't. Counselor, do you have a question?
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to know if it's in your plan somewhere to maybe find a way to reach out to existing businesses. I know that at the last presentation where RAIN came to talk to us about the contract that we have, it mentioned that they have a lot of services available to help current businesses maybe improve their sales or improve the look of their building, or whatever ways you might be able to help. So I wanted to just ask that, I know you mentioned earlier about working with chamber businesses, but I wanted to specifically encourage you to work with all business.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes, no, and I wasn't saying just working with chamber business, but just doing events maybe in conjunction with the chamber, but
Mhm.
everything is always open to everybody.
Okay.
I think the thing is too, is that a lot of times people view RAIN as something that's just for entrepreneurs, you're just starting. But
Right.
I'd like to say that this is open to entrepreneurs and any businesses that want to grow. So I really welcome all small business owners to come to any of the coffee meetups, come to any of the after hours events that we do. Because even if you have started up, you can always learn something new. And especially if we're going to do something focused on marketing or how to become like a destination. It's called kind of like a destination creation, which is how to make your place the place that's like, hey, I would drive from Eugene to Oak Ridge to go eat this at this particular restaurant. So definitely, please help me spread the word. I think one of the challenges that I'm going to have is spreading the word to all the people that could possibly be interested in this. So I'm going to rely on you as team members because you know who everyone is.
Counselor Spleedoff?
Yes, I'd like to know when your coffee meets monthly. Is it on a certain day of the month or
Yes,
certain time or what?
yes, it is. It's the fourth Tuesday of every month at noon at Main Street Coffee.
Okay, is that published anywhere for anybody?
This is one of the problems I'm having is this coffee meetup. This coffee meetup calendar event goes out to like 180 people. And I know very well that those people are not all in Oak Ridge. I just inherited this list. And I also know that other people are not on the list. So maybe this is something that we can put on whether it's the city's website or somewhere. And this is something I'm working with Mayor Holett on, making sure that people know that this is happening.
Yeah. Yeah, Audie, it's actually
Maybe-
been advertised a lot for the last couple years, mostly social media oriented. However, it's gone out in flyers and in all sorts of ways. It's just, it goes back to that thing where Oak Ridge doesn't have an actual tangible newspaper. So I think that is just an area we're still lacking. But I think the calendar that we're putting together will have that on there. And I'll also make sure, I just wrote myself a note to get your email address sent to Melissa so you can be added to those
Thank
meetings.
you. I was going to
Okay.
ask for that. Thank you.
And I was gonna see if maybe it'd be posted down at the post office. A lot of people go down there.
Yeah, it probably is, but it doesn't hurt to do it again.
Is there a
Okay.
bulletin board at the post office with, I could make a flyer?
Yeah,
Yes.
Okay, I'll bring a flyer the next time I'm there and make sure it's in the post office.
okay.
Another suggestion is that the city website has a list of businesses in Oak Ridge that include business owner names, phone numbers, and email addresses.
Great. That's super
Thank you
helpful.
very much.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting a complete, accurate list.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions for Melissa? Okay, well, thank you so much for coming to us, Melissa, and also counselors. If you guys have any questions on your own, you don't have to go through me. Please reach out to Melissa, and even if an idea pops into your head that you think might be beneficial to Oak Ridge and the businesses here, reach out to her. And she's really great at brainstorming, and reach out to her, any ideas you have.
Yeah, just so you know, I don't see a chat window here, but my email address is melissa@oregonrain.org. And I'd love to hear from all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you.
All right.
Can I confirm that email? I'm so sorry. The flyer said,
Sure.
Melissa at raincatalyst.org?
Oh, okay. So we have two, it's the same email. It's gonna go to me no matter what. I thought Oregon Rain
Okay.
was easier to remember, but yes, Rain Catalyst as well would work. Rain
Thank
Catalyst.
you. I'm terribly sorry to interrupt.
No, that's fine.
Okay. Thank you, Melissa. All right, next thing up, what did we want to go with next, James?
The next one on the list is
The
the appointment.
committee appointments. Okay, we're gonna call that 9.3 committee appointments. Okay,
So, council probably noticed that we sent an updated list of our committee appointments. As we talked about the last meeting, there are a number of committee members whose positions expire at the end of this year. They are noted in red in the Excel spreadsheet sent to council. Last week, I sent out emails to all the known email addresses. I didn't get any bounce back, so I assume they all went through to the members who are expiring. But so far, the only people I've heard back from are Kevin Goldman, whose application is in front of you for 3 committees. That he will be reapplying. And I heard from another member of the planning commission who intends to reapply. And I heard from one on the Parks Commission that they will not be reapplying, so there's now an open position on the Parks and Community Services Committee. But everyone else that you see in red, for instance, the Public Safety Committee, Larry Sweet and Cameron Anderson, they both expire at the end of this year. I have not heard back from them if they intend to reapply. So Council Coker, if you're able to reach out to them, find out, that would be helpful. You can remind them that they, as council kind of decided last meeting, if they're just reapplying, they don't have to be at the meeting as long as their application is in. They can be in case the council has questions. And correct me if I'm wrong, council, if I misunderstood your direction on that. Yeah, and the budget committee got Jerry Reed, April Allen, a couple on the library board. So just take a look at this list, if you don't mind, council, and reach out to the folks in red who are expiring at the end of this year to find out if they need to reapply. But on council's docket for today, you've got Kevin Goldman's reapplication for the planning commission, where he serves as the chair, and the Parks and Community Services Committee. That's another reapplication. He has also applied for the Economic Development Advisory Committee, and so has Rusty Acklin, who's got her application as well. Although we may wait on those, it's up to council on the Economic Advisory Committee, because we may be doing the resolution, is my understanding. But obviously that's up to council if you want to vote those members in that committee now or not.
so ODAC, we did redo the resolution, but there was more to it, the purpose of the committee that we were going to redo, is what I recall. And that was there was RTMP, TRT, and ODAC, that we had more work to do on those that we wanted to finish. You know, it's been a while since we discussed it last. I know the resolution was not completed for RTMP, TRT, right?
Correct. Also, the resolution for audit was not. Both of them are complete. They just have not been brought to council for approval or not.
Okay,
ODAC's resolution was approved by council. So there is a valid resolution. I see no reason not to accept
Well,
nominations for that committee.
we held off on other people. That's why I say that we had a couple
I do remember
applications.
that now that you
And we
say
held
that.
off on them because we were gonna redo that, because at one point ODAC was really focusing on the OIP. And it's somewhere in their documentation. I don't think it was per
That was
resolution.
old.
I know.
stuff.
I know, but there
Yeah.
wasn't anything new that was replacing it. So we were going to replace it with whatever the council wanted ODAC's focus to be. And I think it was supposed to be more citywide and not property sales based.
I agree, but if you read the resolution, it does not say that that committee is made to approve property sales. They
Okay.
have a specific list.
Do you happen to have a resolution for ODAC?
I could go print it and take me.
If
And
you
then-
wouldn't mind printing that, maybe.
Sure.
So the RTMP and TRT needs to come to council, right? And were those two combined?
And
or-
audit.
And
The
audit?
thing is, the resolution that is prepared to come back to council has RTMP and TRT back together as one. So that would be a council decision. Do we want to put it back to how it used to be? Because so far in all the years it's been separated, no one's been able to organize and do anything with TRT. So it's just been basically fly by the seat of our pants, make decisions with no direction.
Mhm.
So if that were to come back in front of us, we could decide, do we want to join them back together, or do we want to put somebody has to get on the ball and write up a resolution for TRT and bring it to council.
If it's gonna be
If it's
separate.
gonna be separate.
Okay.
Audit
is
Audit
pretty-
is ready to come
Yeah,
back.
okay.
I even already sent it. I already sent all of those to James.
Maybe we should have an RTMP meeting. And then talk about that and then have something at the next meeting.
Mhm.
Okay. And then I do think that we need to bring ODAC committee back together. I just would feel I know there was an application that came in 6 months to a year ago on ODAC, and we held off on that one because we wanted to put more information and purpose into ODAC. And so it just feels like putting these through is unfair to the other, and I can't even remember who it was that applied a long time ago.
Chrissy, this is Bobby. I have my hand up.
I'm sorry, go ahead. For some reason, the hands aren't coming up, but go ahead.
Oh, that's okay. Sorry, I came home and got on my phone. I just was too disruptive for me to be there coughing. I just wanted, it's been, gosh, I would say a good almost 3 years since we've really dug into these resolutions. I mean, it has been a while, and I feel like I would need to go back and revisit more of that again and what our direction was. And I mean, at this point, it's been long enough. It might be worth tabling that, like you were mentioning, Christy, because I think we're at a point where we can look and see what's worked and what's not worked, and have some better ideas of how we want to move forward. Because back then we had a really good idea, and we all worked hard, and there was a lot of work that was put into it. And I know the admin committee worked hard on the resolutions, and they were in charge of pretty much putting those together. So, I just think it's a good idea to wait a little bit longer and go back and get that historical information, because it's been long enough ago that I can't remember all the finite details. I think it's good to fill, some of the regular functioning committees, like our planning commission very much needs members, because it's, quasi judicial, and really a lot within the city relies on that committee. So I think that's an important one to move forward. But I think as we talk about resolutions and, putting new ones together and what's ready to come back and not come back, I think we need more of that historical data, and to really be able to analyze that, and as a council determine if what we implemented is really working, or if we need to do something different, that sort of thing, because it has been a good 3 years. So
I'm looking at it right now, so it's been 2 years, actually. It was,
Has it?
yeah, I remember because it was,
2020.
yeah, it was Trish that,
Yeah, 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 yeah,
So-
I remember. I just thought it was before COVID. I think COVID's been.
yeah, that was part of the hold off, but I agree that I think these other two we need to vote on for Planning Commission and Parks and Services, but I feel pretty confident that I can bring stuff, send it forward for ODAC, what we talked about. I do remember what Dawn's talking about, RTMP and TRT. They did complete it. We just, if I remember right, we didn't have a complete RTMP committee.
The way the old resolution read, it was the RTMP committee consisted of all council and staff and
Oh, geez.
basically no citizen involvement. That's why I really think it's important to get that one in front of the council to make a decision, because nobody has ever really felt, nobody I've spoke to has ever really felt comfortable having a committee making decisions that's all city,
Yeah,
no citizen involvement. So I feel like we definitely need to work on that.
so
I do agree. I think it is, I am remembering now about ODAC,
mhm,
that we did withhold on approving some
Yeah.
people back then because we wanted to take a harder look at it. But I am okay with tabling that, especially since even if we did appoint, there would only be 2 people. They couldn't meet anyways. We need to,
on ODAC, is there anybody?
no, you, the mayor is the
Yeah.
only counselor, or is the only person on the,
It seems like the perfect time to me to make sure that we have that last little bit finished up for ODAC before putting people on there. Because that might change the purpose of ODAC and
Mhm.
somebody to feel like, oh, well, that's not really what I wanted to do.
yeah.
Are you,
Yeah.
is your hand still up, Bobby?
No, I'm sorry.
That's
I've
okay.
been coming in person, so you're still lowering my hand.
Would you guys feel comfortable if we tabled ODAC and then I'll send in the information I have for ODAC to James? And then council can look at that. I think personally, we should try to finish it up because we've already put a lot of work into it. And at least get it back on the table before the new year starts. But I don't, personally, I don't should put people on the committee yet. We should wait and let the new council appoint people for that.
Yeah, I agree with the 2 things you just said.
Okay. Okay, so do I have a motion, or do we want to make a motion for Mr. Gobelman? He has 2 other committees that he's applying for, both Planning Commission and Parks and Service, and both of those he would be returning and not new.
I make a motion, we appoint Kevin Gobelman to the Parks and Community Services Committee and the Planning Commission for the appointment beginning January 2023.
Okay, so on the roster, let's go ahead and
Oh,
make sure we pick, so that would be 22. So it's a 3-year term, right?
Planning Commission is a 4-year term. Parks is 3.
Okay,
So he would stay in seat, is that seat 1 he's already in?
Correct. In for
Okay.
Parks.
so
For
he would
Parks?
stay there.
And on Planning Commission,
Would be seat 1 as well.
Seat 2.
so did anybody second my motion? Because we already seem to have gone on to discussion and there's no second.
No, I'm sorry. What my purpose was to add to your motion. So,
Okay.
so that you identified seat 1 in Parks and Service, and then what seat for Planning Commission. So that would be seat 1 for Parks and Service and seat 2 for Planning Commission. If I was just gonna make a friendly amendment that you add that to your motion, Bobby.
Okay, I'll accept that. And so my motion is that I move to appoint Kevin Gobelman to the Parks and Community Services Committee, seat 1.
Correct.
And Planning Commission, did you say seat 3?
2.
2, seat 2. Sorry.
Thank you.
I'll
for
second that.
Motion made by Counselor Whitney and seconded by Counselor Hooker. Any more discussion? Okay, the reason I wanted to do that is Dawn and James have been working really hard on organizing this committee spreadsheet. And oftentimes when looking back through the minutes, it can be difficult to figure out which position they're supposed to be in. So as a policy, if we can stay in the practice of identifying which seat we want them to go in, it'll help them keeping good track. And then if they have to backtrack, they can listen to the recording and find out exactly where that person should be. And other than that, just appreciate Kevin for wanting to remain on those committees. Is there any other discussion? Jackie, will you call for the vote?
Counselor Hooker,
Aye.
Counselor Bjornson,
Aye.
Counselor Whitney,
Aye.
Counselor Kenyon,
Aye.
Mayor Hollett,
Aye.
Counselor Splitoff,
Aye.
that's all.
Motion carried. Thank you. And James will let Kevin know that he is reappointed to Planning Commission and the Parks and Recs. And would you mind also letting Kevin and Rusty know that you're just going to retain their applications for ODAC? Okay, I will email what I had or whatever I can find on ODAC for James for the next council meeting. And then I think in between RTMP should get together and talk about all the stuff that Counselor Kenyon had in mind with James. That way we can get that organized before the end of the year. And as well as have audit resolution for the next meeting as well. Is that all? Okay, next item on the agenda. 9.4.
And I think just as a point where I could be wrong, but I don't think we have to change the numbers
Oh, okay.
of the agenda. You can change the order, as mayor, you can change
Okay.
the order, but
Oh, that is a good point. I see what you're saying.
otherwise it would be kind of messed things up.
And it did. I totally messed things up. So.
Okay.
So 9.3, we're gonna talk with Colleen about the flooring out of ARPA funds.
At the last council meeting, we had discussed getting bids for the flooring in this area back here, the hallway, and it would continue into the storage area over there, which hopefully isn't always going to be a storage area. So we'll be getting new flooring in the courtroom and front entrance that will match the flooring that is going into the main work area and the hallway of the city hall. We purchased additional flooring to store for future so that all the floors would match when we had more funds to install the flooring in the 5 offices going down the hallway. So we have that flooring purchased. I did get an estimate to go ahead and have it installed, as well as the installation and flooring for this back area. So the estimate to install the flooring in the 5 offices is there $5,950.
Is that including the hallway or? Is the hallway already included in what you already did?
The hallway is already being done with something
Okay.
else. This is just because I just had to purchase the flooring so that down the road they all match.
Gotcha. Yeah, yeah.
But if we can get it installed and just have it all done, that would be wonderful.
Yeah.
And then the flooring, there's a bid in here to do this flooring, which you can see
Gaps.
it's coming apart. So it's kind of had its day. So the flooring and installation, you'll see the bid for this area, this back hall, the kitchen area. Came out to 13,000.
Does that include the bathrooms?
No,
Oh, are they, they're probably linoleum.
they're tile and they have slants for the drains.
For the water. I noticed too.
Yeah, I know he did ask, but it would be the kitchen area, which has some rot underneath the fridge area, so that would be included in fixing that rot in the flooring. And also, there's some rot up front in the entryway that's going to be repaired when he does the flooring in there too, like from the door and the windows, that subflooring really coming up. And there's
that's
a
all
pretty good
included?
spot in the kitchen too. Yes, it's all included in here. So just some maintenance with it, that's kind of,
So this number here would be the whole kit and caboodle.
that would be all of it, the 18,950. If we wanted to just hold on to the flooring for another day that we've already purchased for the 5 offices. That's why I left it kind of open, so you can include it or not, or just this area. So I wanted you guys to have options for that.
I don't have the agenda, Bill, but did you propose that we would use ARPA funds to do this?
Yes,
And what, so it would just go ARPA funds administration, we'd be adding it in the budget?
correct. The supplemental that we're doing next month.
Well, I like the idea. I think it might as well all get done all the same time, get it done, get it off the plate, because there's
I think.
so many other things.
Yeah.
There is.
And I can't even imagine just, trying to get a volunteer group in to do one little floor would be, like the main front lobby all the way out in front, a little tiny spot.
Yeah,
Maybe that would work, but trying to get a volunteer to get the whole entire building,
Mhm.
get it done right. Get it done professional.
yep,
Totally agree.
yeah.
Go ahead, Counselor Spleedoff.
I don't see that it is in the bill here to come from ARPA.
Oh, I don't know if I said.
It
that.
doesn't say ARPA on there anywhere.
It says ARPA on the agenda item.
Does
So
it? Okay.
9.3 says use of ARPA funds. All right, but we can add it to the motion.
Okay, yeah.
I'll make the motion.
Okay,
Okay, Melissa's got her hand up too.
go ahead, Counselor Bjornson.
I just wanted to add that I agree. I think it's a good idea that we do it all at once, so it's not piecemeal together or put off so long that then the flooring that's being installed now is degrading by the time the new flooring is installed.
Yeah.
And I honestly love that City Hall is being fixed up. It's a long time coming. It's a long time needed. And I think that that helps the morale of the staff, the council, the volunteers, and even the citizens that go in and see that we take pride in that building. So I agree with this.
Thank you.
Thank you, totally agree.
I'd
Go
like to
ahead.
make a motion. I move to allow the finance director to accept the proposed bids for $18,950 to install new flooring in the remainder of City Hall to include the 5 offices, the back hall break room, conference and storage rooms, using ARPA funds that will be added in the supplemental budget.
I'll second.
Okay, motion made by Counselor Kenyon and seconded by Counselor Spleedoff. Is there any more discussion? Well, I agree with Counselor Bjornson and Counselor Kenyon, and I really appreciate Colleen doing the legwork to make this happen. This definitely is a good morale boost, and I'm glad that I get to be a part of this year. Any other discussion? All right, Jack, will you call for the vote?
Counselor Bjornson,
Aye.
Counselor Spleedoff,
Aye.
Counselor Whitney,
Aye.
Mayor Hollett,
Aye.
Counselor Kenyon,
Aye.
Counselor Hooker.
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you, guys. 9.4 audit review, Counselor Kenyon.
Okay, so. I'm gonna move things around a little bit. Has everybody received and reviewed their audit?
Yes.
I'm laughing when I say that because there's actually 2 audits left here at City Hall. And so I don't know who they belong to.
Digital ones were also.
Oh,
but
true.
hard copies.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
Good. So the audit actually came with some attachments that got sent out today that are, one's a management letter. And one is a letter to the city council. And then there was a document that was questions that need to be asked during financial reports. So those all did get emailed out today. If you want to review them in the future. But wanted to start in the audit with excuse me, the letter to the city council. So we got, I'm not going to read the whole thing, it's several pages long, but I just wanted to briefly update on the section that's called results of the audit. Number 1, the audit is an opinion letter. An unmodified opinion on the basic financial statements has been issued. This means that we have given a clean opinion with no reservations. And that means that the audit is free from material misstatements, which is ideal. We never want to get a material misstatement. Number 2, the state minimum standards. We found no exceptions or issues requiring comment except as noted on page 62 of the financial report. So if we flip to page 62 of the audit, and I think we've discussed this before in a meeting, or maybe it was just in the audit meeting, but the 2 items on page 62 are that the budget hearing notice in 2021 was posted on June 14th and the hearing was on June 17th. The budget law requires that the notice of a hearing be advertised between 5 and 30 days prior to the meeting, and that missed it by a couple of days or something like that.
Yes.
So I know we all know that we are going to be getting those posted between 5 and 30 days ahead in the future. But the second item there was the expenditures were within authorized appropriations except as noted on page 17. And when you flip to page 17 in the audit, there's 8 funds that were overspent. Now, Colleen did point out in a previous meeting that the wastewater fund, the overage that's listed here was an interfund loan transfer, right?
Both the
Oh,
water
water.
funds looked like it was,
Water and wastewater.
yeah, I believe those. I don't know.
I think they were transfers that happened that were not actually in the, they weren't budgeted for. But they
Right,
needed
part of
to
those
have
loans, so
loans.
we're missing, I wasn't here, but I feel like maybe it was something that should have been done in a supplemental that never did. So therefore it's being called out on here.
Agreed.
Yeah. Actually, I think that's odd because I remember now that it did get done in a supplemental,
Oh, yeah,
but
No, we asked for supplemental and we didn't get it.
no, this is different. This one did get done in a supplemental, but there were errors and I caught them and brought them back to council. And so we had to retract the supplemental and then do a new supplemental, which I believe did get done. So I'm
Okay.
surprised they didn't follow through on that, but I have all the records on all that.
I think it might just be a matter of, because it's all loan stuff,
Mhm.
so. I just wanted to make it known that water, wastewater did not overspend on anything. It was a loan transfers that
Mhm.
were not
Yeah,
accounted for correctly somehow, so.
yeah. But the other ones, were over expenditures, I guess, and that's not the first time it's ever happened, but what we do need to focus on as a council is reviewing our monthly statement of revenues and expenditures and asking questions about where we are throughout the year in different funds to make sure that we are overseeing and not letting it get to the end of the year and find out that we've overspent in a fund. Moving on, so that was the letter to the council, and then there's a letter to management, which has two significant deficiencies. And they're not material deficiencies, but significant. It's different. Let me see if I have that. Oh, right here. Okay, so these items actually need corrective action, which I know James is probably already working on because we found out about this several weeks ago. But the deficiencies were journal entries. It says during our testing, we noted that there was no assigned reviewer for manual journal entries, and that all but 5 manual journal entries showed no evidence of approval. We recommend that the journal entries are reviewed, manual journal entries are reviewed by a second individual independent of the person responsible for entering the journal entries. And that review be documented with a signature and a date to enhance internal controls. The second item was bank reconciliations. It says during our testing of bank reconciliations, we were made aware that there is no reviewer for bank reconciliations prepared by the finance director. We recommend that bank reconciliations are reviewed by a second individual independent of the person who prepares the reconciliations. And that review be documented with a signature and a date to enhance internal controls. I believe that's the one that Colleen, you mentioned during the audit that's already been fixed. Is that right?
Yes, all
Okay.
these are gonna have, luckily, I have, other people in there that can work with it, and, Leah, who went to school for accounting, so I have somebody else who can look at it and understand it, so that'll be great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't think it was there, but it was somewhere else. Oh, okay, so then the the next page in this letter actually lists several matters that they only wanted to bring up to say that we might not be following the best practices. So they made some recommendations for governing body monitoring, stale dated checks, intellectual property, fidelity insurance coverage, duplicate invoice entries, and the minimum number of appropriated funds. Now, some of these items actually recommend that we implement a policy if we don't already have one. So I feel we need to find out. We need to look into that and see, do we have the policies? If not, get some implemented. And I know that on this last one, the minimum number of appropriated funds, Colleen's already reviewing the funds and plans to suggest some consolidation in our budget season next year. Is that right?
Actually, a lot of this is going to be done when we switch over to our new accounting software this year. So that.
Do you think that'll be before budget season starts or?
Before it starts? Well,
Okay,
it depends.
Probably
It might be
mid.
pretty close, actually.
okay,
Yeah.
cool. So, what I wanted to do is actually, I'd like to make a motion that we accept our 2021 audit and direct staff to ensure that all recommendations are followed through and brought forward to council for a future update.
There a second? Go ahead,
I'll
Council.
second.
Thank you, Counselor Whitney. Is there any discussion? Motion made by Counselor Kenyon and seconded by Counselor Whitney.
Yes,
John, will you repeat that, please?
there's actually two more on there too, on the third page.
Oh. Oh, you're right on the, yeah, number 7 and
7
number
and 8.
disbursement documentation and revenue and receivable balances.
Right.
Yeah, you're right. Thanks, Audie.
Does
Okay,
that change
thank you.
at all?
It does not change the motion.
Okay.
No, it doesn't.
Is there any discussion on the motion? Can you reread your motion for Jackie?
Yes,
Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion to accept our 2021 audit and direct staff to ensure all recommendations are followed through and brought forward to the council in a future update. And I have it written here. I can leave it with James so you can have it.
Okay, that would be great.
Mhm.
Okay, if there's no discussion, Jackie, will you call for the vote?
Who seconded
Counselor Whitney.
Whitney? Okay, Counselor Whitney,
Aye.
Mayor Hollett,
Aye.
Counselor Splitoff,
Aye.
Counselor Bjornson,
Aye.
Counselor Kenyon,
Aye.
Counselor Hooker,
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you, guys. On to 9.5, discussion for posting city council minutes on YouTube and videos. Go ahead, Counselor Kenyon.
You want me to-
Yeah, you go ahead. I don't have the agenda.
Oh,
Okay, go ahead, James.
just at the last council meeting, we began discussion of looking at our current policy for posting the written minutes of council meetings and also posting the video recordings on our YouTube page. So I provided council with 3 governing documents. The first is the ORS, that's the law, and that's ORS 192.650. under the law, it requires that we post the minutes and the recordings within a reasonable time after the meeting. So what's reasonable time? Good question. There is a large document that's put out by the Attorney General's office, and I attached the sections, page 159 to 162 that are pertinent. So this is just the opinion of the Oregon Attorney General's office. And they think that, first of all, it's interesting to note that they've noted that smaller cities, it's going to take them longer, the shorter staff, et cetera. But they have, their opinion is that it may take up to 3 weeks to be prepared. That is to have the written minutes prepared and voted on. And insofar as the posting of the videos, they've said within a few days is how they are interpreting that for posting the videos. We do have a policy on point for both of these items. I've included that as well. That's under Chapter 6 of our council rules of procedure. Right now, that requires us to have the written minutes approved within 60 days of the meeting and posting the audio or video recordings within 5 business days. So in other words, since we have meetings on Thursday, it would be 1 week by the next Thursday, because Saturday and Sunday don't count as enough business day. Could argue that Friday also doesn't count because we're not open, but roughly a week is what it's taking. So we are still trying to catch up. We've made some progress. Posting of the videos. I've been made aware of an issue today that, and it was just late in the day, that the videos between March and May of this year were not saved in the way that we're saving them now. So we didn't have an account through YouTube that we put them on. Kevin Cronin was in charge at the time, and he was supposed to be posting the videos, but no one is quite sure where he saved them. So tomorrow we will be looking in files to see and hope that those recordings were saved. Some. I'm also going to reach out to former CA, incoming Mayor Brian, to see if maybe he has some insight, because Kevin Cronin may have followed whatever Brian was doing at the time. So hopefully we can find those recordings. If not, we still have the written notes that Jackie took during the meetings, so the minutes can still be produced, but we're just crossing our fingers that we can find those videos from March to May. Is that accurate, Jackie and Colleen, from your understanding of this issue?
It is, but I also want to note that up until very recently, the city recorder didn't do anything. It wasn't her duty to do anything with the videos.
Correct.
So that's something that had just recently changed, like within the last couple months. So that's why we're trying to figure out where they were previously. Yeah.
So my personal opinion, my recommendation, I think that our current policy is reasonable. I think 60 days is reasonable. Yes, we're not following that. We're still behind. We're catching up on that. It may take a little bit of overtime to get those done. Just make council aware of that. You know, if we want them done faster, there may be some overtime involved. Limited as much as possible, obviously. And then just finding these videos. And again, I did an initial search for about 5 minutes on my computer, but there are lots of, it's like spiderweb, lots of files.
Yes.
So hopefully we can find it.
And Also, I would just like to note that we're trying to get things caught up and running a little bit differently. So now that we have Rick in here doing stuff, I was able to take, up until Rick, I think Jackie had 3 or 4 things she was trying to juggle along with, cut hours. So. Now, wait a minute. Cut hours haven't existed for how many months?
What do you mean?
July 1st. That's when the hours came back, full time.
What?
Yeah.
I thought Brian told us that he reinstated them back
Nope.
to 40 hours.
Absolutely not. They did not come back until July 1st.
So how many hours were they working before that?
32 a week.
That's probably for another discussion.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's the way it is. So I'm just with things and the way that we've got them situated now, things will start flowing better. They are gonna get better, guarantee you. So we got times and dates for different stuff being done, and so just give us a little bit of time. We are gonna get there very shortly.
So, I prefer that we would avoid overtime. If we just consider using regular business hours to get caught up, how long do you estimate it might take?
I mean, didn't she have like 3 or 4 on tonight's that we didn't even look at for some reason?
The reason we didn't look at them is because when they're presented to counselors prior to the meeting, we are supposed to review them and decide whether or not we think they're accurate.
Yeah.
I have found in all the last 3 sets of minutes, things that I felt were not accurate. I mean, this is part of the reason why the video posting is important. You have to be able to go to the video or the recording and check and find it, which I have done, and we have made some corrections to the June ones. So those are ready.
And were those on tonight's agenda?
Yeah, but because they're all grouped into one agenda thing, when we say to cancel it, we have to cancel all of them.
Because the consent agenda
Is
is
everything.
totally different. The terminology consent means that you have to either approve every single thing under consent or take it all out and do it individually.
Exactly. We could have done them individually.
But at last
Right.
meeting, didn't we approve 2 out of 3?
We took them out
No,
last
they were
time.
on, so now we're behind.
At
2
last
council
week, we
meetings.
didn't do any, and this time we didn't do any.
Yeah,
So
we
it's
took
like,
them out.
yeah. So now
So
we're.
we can
making us
talk about,
behind again.
we can talk about consent agenda later
No,
on, what the
yeah.
terminology means, but if you want to just. You don't have to use the term consent agenda. It could be just minute approvals, but when it says
Yeah.
consent, that means we can't discuss anything in here. It means it is what it is. You either.
I
approve
think
it
we
or
should
don't.
update that then so that we can keep moving forward with them because.
Well, we can add June 28th minutes as a new item on our agenda tonight if you
Okay.
want. Those have been updated. Have they been sent out to everyone? Yes, they would have been. But I do have corrections for July 21st. Is that what's in there? And corrections for August 8th. August 4th, whatever the,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
I just find it's really difficult to read through minutes that are 4 and 5 months old and to be able to recall everything accurately.
Yeah.
So, and I understand that that's not the norm to be 4 and 5 months late on them,
No.
but even I think 60 days is too much if, I realize that's not the normal, but 60 days going back that's 2 months to think back on your minutes, and that is supposed to be an accurate reflection of what transpired in a meeting. That's our kind of our legal documentation. So I feel like, I wouldn't necessarily want to go against what's ORS is, but as a city policy, I kind of lean more towards 30 days, but I don't know what everybody else
So do
feels.
keep in mind that's, they must be approved by.
Oh,
council in 60
okay.
days, So they would have
Yeah.
been brought to council.
Sooner.
at least 2
Oh,
weeks
okay.
prior.
Okay. And as far as the 5 business days on the posting of the YouTube, I mean, in most instances, that YouTube video is really easy to quickly upload.
I agree on that.
So to me, I feel like we should shoot towards Monday, but have a couple days grace in case somebody's out sick.
Well, our
or-
meetings are on Thursday and
Mhm.
they don't work on Friday,
Yeah,
so.
yeah,
No,
okay.
wait a minute, I thought we just said we went back to 40 hours. We did, they're working 4/10s. Oh. Remember, they're not taking lunch breaks, so we're open all day. Yeah. Or rotating lunches. Not closed for lunch, correct, thank you. Right. Okay, so I personally don't think we need to change any of our policies. The written
Mhm.
policies do allow for some slack time if it's necessary.
Mhm.
But what we need to do is just focus on getting caught up and then. Because it sounds like you're already on top of trying to develop let's try and every Monday or, whatever, set up your own
Correct.
system to try and keep it flowing.
Yep.
Regularly so that our citizens and our council have access to this information. It's just,
Totally.
it's just, as a counselor, necessary as part of my role to come here tonight. I have to look back at, well, what did we talk about on this subject, on whatever day? And
Mhm.
finding those or having that stuff available is pertinent, and it's just kind of, it's frustrating, but I understand the problem and I'm,
Would you,
and we are working.
um, would council like us to have Jackie work backwards? In other words, the first minute she works on tomorrow would be tonight's meeting, and then the meeting from 2 weeks ago. Would it be helpful if she worked backwards that way rather than going?
All the way back to the front,
Right,
yeah, and then coming forward.
because we're already kind of,
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Because it's gonna be, I'm not gonna need to know what happened in January necessarily.
We're not back to January, right?
No,
Okay.
I don't
No,
know. So.
the only things
Oh, but you're
the
talking
only
about
things I
March and
sent
May.
was,
or March and April.
video information. I
Yeah,
sent video, I didn't track whether or not minutes are done.
oh, okay, the videos, those are just gonna be. I think that, yeah,
yeah, minutes that
minutes
were
are
up through all,
important.
at least the
I have
first.
my hand up.
Okay,
Sorry.
just,
sorry, Bonnie.
Sorry, but yeah, we can't see hands on this end.
Yeah, that's why I hollered. I figured I'd give it a
Thanks.
second. I was going to say I would prefer we not just go backwards with the suggestion, because I'd really like to get us within the ORS and being in compliant with that sooner and getting those old ones out of the way and moved off our plate. And I would imagine it would be a little bit quicker, because Rick's been there a few weeks, so I just don't see it taking that long, but I would just like to get us in compliance a whole lot sooner.
Dawn and I have also offered to help with getting some of this stuff done in the past.
I have
I'm
multiple
still that
times.
The
offer,
video?
so, yeah, videos,
Yeah.
whatever
Videos
needs
are
to
easy.
be done.
The videos are easy.
In fact, I think, Jackie, what's the status on the, minus the few months where they might be missing? What's the status on videos for council meetings?
They're all up right now, except for those ones that we can't find.
Okay.
And I do have like a question on
We
if
should.
we're disputing the minutes. I'm hoping that it's not because of, word by word issue.
It's not.
Okay,
Our minutes
okay,
2 years ago used to be 8 to 10 pages long, maybe 3 or 4 years ago. Now they're like 2 pages long because there's just minimal
barely meeting requirements.
I would like to see it somewhere in the middle. It doesn't, we don't need an entire transcription of every word that was said at a meeting. That's ridiculous.
Right.
But also, one of the things that was pointed out in our audit was that we weren't asking questions about financial status, which
we
if
are.
anybody that knows our council knows that's not true. So I do
But
think.
now that we, like in the last meeting, when Dawn did that, she said, please make this a note. in the
Yeah.
meetings." That's just something that.
Right, but so I would, to finish answering that, the things like, for example, the ones that was in the June minutes that needed to be corrected. The dates of a contract said February 28th through June 30th or something like that. But in fact, that was absolutely not true. The contract was from April to June or something like
Okay,
that.
so
Yeah.
it was a date
So it
thing.
was a matter of, we need to look this up, find out the truth
Mhm.
and get the minutes to reflect the accurate information. And that's the same in the ones that I'm gonna bring forward. I'm not being a stickler. I don't really care for our minutes. I will admit that. I think they're very, very vague. But they're legal.
Can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead.
I recently, a few months ago, took a minute taking class through Robert's Rules
I know.
in
It's-
Parliament, and they said the only things to be recorded in minutes is what was done, not what was said, unless it's very, very important.
Well,
Mhm.
yeah, and we agree that that is the legal law, but different areas set their how they want their minutes to appear. That doesn't mean that
That's what
can't
I'm doing.
so.
Have my
Well,
hand up again.
the council, how we would like it done. Go ahead, Councilor Splitoff.
Okay, I agree with Don. We need to get these minutes out there.
You muted, Audie.
I think he's done.
No, I hit the button again.
Go
Uh,
ahead.
I agree with Don. We should have our meeting, our notes and stuff out there in time to be able to look it over, and it's not getting there now.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we're all in agreement that we need to make sure that they get done. Right
And I
now,
don't think we need to do overtime, but I do think tonight's meeting should be posted up in as soon as possible and then work backwards.
okay. So right now, we're kind of discussing on how much detail we think should be in the minutes.
So,
I actually don't think we should be discussing that.
Okay,
well, I was gonna say the Attorney General does have guidance on that as well. On page 159.
that what Jackie just mentioned a minute ago.
No, just reading from Robert's Rules.
Okay,
So I still have my hand up.
I'm sorry, Bobby, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think keeping them general how they are is fine, especially with the YouTube videos. And especially with our desire to have them come out quicker. The more detailed we ask them to be, the harder it's going to be to get them done and the harder it's going to be to get them out timely. I think we already have 2 mechanisms to capture our meetings, which is a lot more than what we had 4 or 5 years ago. So I think, doing the general way she's doing them is great. It follows Robert's Rules of Order. It's captures, really what we need. And then we have the recording. So I'm great with where we are.
Hey, James, did you want to go over that part?
Just so again, this is guidance from the Attorney General. That they say minutes should include the following: the members present by name, motions, proposals, resolutions, orders, ordinances, and measures proposed, and the dispositions, results of all votes, the vote of each member by name, And then the substance of any discussion on a matter. That's kind of vague. And a reference to any document discussed at the meeting. Unless even a reference to the document is exempt under public records law. And it basically follows the ORS. So yeah, the substance of any discussion. Kind of vague. I think the way they're as a lawyer, I'm thinking what they're saying is that you have to describe what was discussed, not verbatim.
Right,
In this opinion.
1 or 2 sentences is what's recommended.
Gotcha. I think
Yeah.
that's reasonable.
I think that's reasonable too. I did want to point out that one of the city staff members mentioned to me that Zoom does have an option that will actually transcribe the meeting. So it'll all come
I'll do
out.
it on YouTube.
Exactly. It comes through Zoom, through YouTube, but it'll come out and then you can edit and take out what you don't want so that it can make it less.
I would caution us to do that because has anyone used talk to text on their cell phone?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why you have to read through it and delete out what you don't
Which
want.
would be very time consuming.
It could
If
be.
we want to do that, then I
Yeah.
think Jackie's would only be minutes. Only minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
I
one of
don't-
the things I do think we should look at using is, there's a Zoom option you can do through YouTube, which is live. And a lot of cities are using that. I think the school district is using it, yeah. So that when the meeting's happening, it can actually play on there and you can watch it
Okay.
live. And
We'll
it's
look into
through
that.
Zoom. I think it's the school district. I know I've watched a couple now.
Is Chief
Cottage
still on
Grove
here?
might be doing it.
Chief, are you still on? Maybe not,
what's the difference between that and just?
because it's gonna
logging into
populate
the
as it,
meeting?
it's gonna populate. It's gonna, when we're done with the meeting, or right now, it's in Zoom, it's on
Oh.
It's
YouTube.
like turning captions on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
Which
there,
are sometimes wrong.
So in other words, you don't have to go back later and upload it.
right? Isn't that what you're saying? So
I
it's-
think so, but I mean, somebody can watch it through YouTube on our YouTube channel in real time.
Yeah, so it would already be there.
Yeah, they don't have to be logged into Zoom. They can just watch the thing
Oh.
play and it's a lot
So then it
easier.
would, imagine would just stay
Go
there
to your
recorded.
channel.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then that would eliminate having to upload. I love it.
I know.
I think it will be. I don't know for
We'll look
sure, but
into
I
it.
know there's a lot of other cities using that. So that's why I
Okay.
wanted to mention it.
The only other caution I might have is if something were to happen such as interruptions that we've had sometimes.
Yeah.
If they're being recorded live then immediately.
Yeah, but that kind of shows up anyways. I think you still could go in and edit something if you've got something that, you know, that needs to come out like we have had here in a few times.
And I still have one of those meetings from the very beginning.
Yeah,
I have to edit that still, so.
Mayor Holland,
yeah.
I couldn't remember what. one it
Go ahead,
was.
Jan.
I just want to make sure that you knew Michelle is here now.
Oh, I did not. Thank you.
You bet.
Okay, do we have any motions or is that just discussion only for minutes?
I think that we don't need any motions
Okay,
if everyone else agrees.
I agree.
I agree.
so then the videos will be posted within 5 days.
Sorry, just the only clarification I would like is, because I've heard different things from the councils, do we want to work backwards? Meaning
Oh,
yeah.
get
Oh,
tonight's minutes out first, since we're already in trouble
Yeah,
for the ones that.
I agree with that.
so do I. I think it makes sense to stay on track with making sure we're not tardy anymore. But then as soon as Jackie can get the back stuff done.
Move backwards is what I think we should do. Which
As quickly as possible.
Yeah,
sounds like.
but
is what
still
you're
keep,
saying.
but the priority is to keep on time with the current stuff.
Moving backwards means starting with tonight's meeting. She'll do the
Yeah.
minutes for tonight and then she'll go back to the last meeting and then to the one before it.
I agree.
So we would be current at all times.
Okay.
And getting caught up.
Thank you.
Good.
And does the rest of the council agree with that theory?
Well, shouldn't that be on the motion?
No.
I'm just, I have a, so I feel like we're kind of getting into the waters of telling staff what to do, and that's not our job, that's James's job. But we can direct him on
He just
what we
asked,
would like to see, of
He
He's
course.
the one who asked.
I know, I hear you, but I just want to caution us because I feel like that's kind of
it also is
what
our
I'm hearing.
ability to
So
work.
and my other comment also was that we don't know where Jackie's at with her workload and how things look. And so I just want it to be to where we are asking James to start working backwards and recognize that he's going to work with his staff to do that as efficiently as he can within what she has going on, on her desk. I don't want to feel like we're telling them exactly how to do their job and where to do it. So I don't think that's our job to do. That's, it's James's job to work with her on that, not ours.
I think most people would agree with that.
I felt
I
like
know
James
I
was
did.
asking direction from us.
Yeah.
So
I was just on that one issue, but I just, council can rest assured that this will be the primary priority.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I wasn't trying to be difficult. I just felt like we were treading somewhere else, so. Sorry.
Okay, next thing on the agenda is 9.6, the request from We Are Sharp for the WAC.
All right, I can
No,
introduce this, and then I believe Noreen Blankenship is online in case there are any questions. This Blankenship has started a 501c3 organization called We Are Sharp. It's basically what she's been doing for the last few years is helping the homeless, serving meals, etc. She has requested to be able to use power from the WAC, not to enter the WAC, but to use power from it to serve coffee, soup, that kind of stuff on the mornings where the warming center is not open. So it's supplementing what the warming center is already doing. She's going to be doing this in conjunction with some organizations that she has gathered together, and which there will be a meeting for on December 7th at 4 p.m. at the Methodist Church, getting together all these organizations, meeting all our local churches, Easter Seals, Lake County Veteran Services, HIV Alliance, who was here today, by the way, for 4 hours, giving out sleeping bags, etc. Again, carry forward the warming center, etc. So the cost of the city is just the power cost. And our general liability coverage does cover, we discussed this before in a meeting, it does cover the parking lot area, as long as they don't enter the WAC. It's covered by insurance. So that is the proposal. And I don't know, Ms. Blankenship has, I can see you there. If anything you want to add or any questions from council?
Wanted to add that we do serve the meals at night, and then in the morning, only on the mornings that it's snowing or raining and that the warming center is not open, that we supply them with a hot meal to get them warmed up on those mornings, and then we exchange their wet blankets for dry sleeping bags. So it would be easier for us to be in one location as we always have been in the past.
where were you at in the past?
At the breach at the WAC, which is where we're requesting now.
Okay, Counselor Splitoff, go ahead.
Yes, that's where I wanted to find out. Where was you getting the power from? Which end of the building were you gonna be at, and what kind of power do you need? Just a little 110 circuit, a 220?
Just a 110, we're just hooking up our coffee maker and keeping our crock pot warm.
Okay, because you have to have so much. You can't be on the 15 amp circuit. So I'm saying, so you're gonna have to run a power cord from inside our building, or?
There were power cords at that time. We've done it for several years or a couple of years in the past. And there were the power cords that went to the pallet houses, and that worked just fine for us.
By the restrooms, or
The north side is on School Street.
like the breezeway area?
Where the power.
So there's adequate power coming from the breezeway right now.
Yes, there always has been in the past for us.
I'm assuming a power cord running out the door.
New power cord running out the door, and I've looked on eBay, there's a couple of options to be able to lock
Okay.
the cord. so it can be used.
Did you have anything else, Counselor Spleedoff?
Yeah. I would feel safer if we knew what amperage the cord is, and if it'll handle all the power that we're going out there. We don't need to cause a fire in the middle of the storm. And so that was what my big thing is do we need to put a outlet, a 30 or 50 amp outlet out there to handle that?
Hey, Audie, have you ever seen a coffee maker or a crock pot that requires a 30 amp circuit? I never have.
Well, we had up at the golf course, we had a big doings for a person that passed away out there. And I took my circuit breaker plug-in, it was only for 15 amps, and it kept blowing that all the time up there. And that only had a crock pot hooked into it.
We're certainly happy to use one of the bars that has the protection on it.
I feel pretty comfortable with just letting James to take care of that and make sure it's the right amperage. for
Yeah,
it.
that's what I'm suggesting.
Okay,
Just to make sure that everything's there, that we're not gonna cause a fire by too small of cord or not enough power to the outlet.
yeah, well, keep in mind, this is gonna be manned, so, if it kicked off or a spark, a thing blew, they're gonna be there. It's not like they're gonna set up a coffee pot and crock pot and just free for all it. They'll be there.
We'll have a minimum of 2 to 4 volunteers at every session.
Okay, did you have any more questions, Counselor Spleedoff?
No, that's all. Thank you.
So, Tink, do you now have a formal 501c3?
We do have our federal tax ID number at this point in time, and we are working with an attorney on the bylaws to finish that up now.
So is that a no?
So they have an EIN number? So
Yeah,
they're-
that's a business number. That's
Right.
totally different from a nonprofit.
Correct. It's in your application for the 501c3 in.
We've written everything up. We're just waiting to finish the bylaws to get those in and finish the payments with the attorney. As it is almost $5,000.
Okay, so you have a business ID, but you don't have a nonprofit status.
Not completed, no.
Correct. You're
We are.
correct.
Okay. Okay. Well, I was, okay,
Melissa's on board too.
okay. Is she raising her hand?
Yes, she is.
Go ahead, Counselor Bjornson.
Yeah, without anybody being in the whack, how are they going to access power and then have it locked back up when they're finished and then have access to it again? How's that going to work?
So, yeah, we ran into the same issue with the community garden. People were using the hoses too much. so we had to lock those down, and we found spigot locks, and they make the same sort of devices for cords. They're actually cords you can lock up. You can buy them on eBay. And then there are also locks you can replace a cover. You know how some outlets have those flip covers?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Those can be locked down. So there's a couple of options, and whatever it is, I'm just going to donate it because they're available on my favorite website, eBay.
So is that all coming from an internal outlet or is there an external outlet?
That's to be seen. I need to test them.
I think what it is, James, you know how the doors are there and there's a little stick out on this side that's short and the pallet used to be right there. Right on that little short wall, there's like a mechanical room or something. And that's what they were using to power the pallet houses. So it wasn't inside the main building, but
Yeah, and that building is keyed, that door is keyed separately. I just need to talk to Public Works to make sure, because my thought was that I would give one key to that door to Tink, because she's trustworthy to hold on to the key, just like we're doing with the warming center. But I need to make sure that's just for that door, because God forbid the key does get lost. I don't want it to open anything else. So
well, you want it duplicated also.
yes, true.
Melissa, did you have any more questions?
No, that's it for now. Thank you.
Okay, go ahead, Counselor Hooker.
Sorry about that. This is just for Tink's organization, correct? It's not for many organizations to use this one area.
My understanding is that she's working with a lot of these groups who may come in and help supplement her efforts. Like today, HIV Alliance was here for 4 or 5 hours. So that just kind of depends, but she's going to be running it. Her group will be running it.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Counselor Spleedoff, go ahead.
Yes, that little, for say, mechanical room that you're going into, is that where the power panels are? Sub panels and stuff? I would be a little leery of just giving a person, whether they're a business or not, to have access into those rooms.
Yeah, and I promise I'm considering all of these things. Maybe Bobby, you can speak up and say the same thing you said last time. That I'm hoping council can trust me to figure out the best way to do the logistics of it. I'm just trying to get permission to do it. Because yes, that's a concern for me too. That's why I wanted to see the key, to see if it only works for that room, because it is a very important room. We could get power from inside the other way through the doors, those 2 doors. And I just need to see what's going to work best.
Okay, because yeah, we might need to put a lock plug in on the outside of our building.
Yeah, that's option number 2, is we could have the 2 ways to
Okay, if that's what you're looking at, I go ahead, trust you on that. But I hate giving somebody a key to our electrical room or mechanical room when there's other stuff in there, and that's just opening us up for a lawsuit. If somebody goes in, plugs in the wrong place, or messes something else up in there.
Right. That's why I'm gonna see what works best, because there are, again, on eBay, there are cords that literally have a lock on them, and that way the cord could just sit outside. Wouldn't need to open any doors. It would just be there.
I trust you to look into it. Thank you.
Yeah, I have my hand up.
Yeah, I'm going through the line.
Sorry. I just didn't know if you could see it or not.
I can now for some reason, but go ahead, Counselor Whitney.
I was just going to say I agree that trusting James to do that. And I think that might be our old boiler room
Yeah.
And a lot of stuff already came out of there, so there's really, I don't believe a whole lot in there to worry about. And I think just having access to one small room opposed to the whole building is fine for this sort of thing. I think it's great. And I think, James will be able to set up something that's going to be efficient, protect the city's interests where that building is concerned and where liability is concerned. And, I think it's great to just go ahead and move forward with this. Do we even have a motion out there?
Yeah, there's one on here, but we have a couple of questions still.
Okay.
Go ahead, Counselor Hooker, did you still have your hand raised?
No, I was just gonna say, I trust our CA to do what's best. And I think this is actually a really good, a good thing to do. I really do.
Thank you. So I have a couple questions.
Councilor Bjornson's on too.
Counselor Bjornson, did you have a question too? For some reason, your hand's not popping up.
No question. I was just gonna say that I trust James to figure this out as well. It's not, there's no distrust there. I was just curious about the logistics.
Thank you. Have we talked to the community in that area, the neighbors? Tink, do you have a rapport with the neighbors that live in that area about doing this?
I've been doing it there for the last 2 or 3 years, and we've never
outside, because I can say in the past, we did have quite a few complaints from the neighbors from the residential area there.
That had to do with the warming center, though. That wasn't from us feeding people in the evenings. I know that I took a couple of those calls as well. We've always had a positive response. We're not there that long. The community's actually seen them get up, clean up. The unhoused are responsible for helping clean up, and we're only there for maybe a couple of hours, providing a meal. And then in the mornings, we're providing hot coffee, a pastry, and exchanging those wet items.
Awesome. And then would this be something that you could keep a log on how many you're serving? And the reason that I ask that is because we do have future things that could potentially come to Oak Ridge. So I think keeping some type of number data would be helpful for the county when they're distributing services. And then just to identify the need from Oak Ridge, if you would be able to, if you have 2 a night or 20 a night or whatever, to kind of keep a log of those people that are coming to use those services.
We already currently do that, and I could provide you the last 30 days if you'd like.
That would be awesome. Yeah, I'm asking the warming center to do the same thing as well.
On average, we're serving between 18 and 23 a night.
Wow.
Okay.
Still a large increase.
Wow.
Okay, thank you for that, Tink. And my last thing I wanted to mention was I did talk to one of the churches not too long ago, and they seemed very interested in being a part of this. So my thought, not necessarily, I don't know how soon it could work out, but in the future would be working with one of those churches for more of a permanent place to do this, because as things move forward with the WAC, and I think probably Counselor Hooker and Counselor Whitney might agree that in the future, it might not be a good spot to have this there. So just thinking forward that maybe one of the churches might have an area that they would do this on a permanent basis.
Right, and as you know, we're working on a long-term goal to have a permanent transitional situation anywhere where we would be providing these services there.
Yeah. Any other counselor comment? Or I'll.
Sorry, I was just going to say, I think it's great to have that resource in a more central location within the community, and where it's easier to reach the homeless population. I just think it's nice that it's there. I think it's, it better meets those needs, so.
Yeah.
If I may, Mayor,
Yes.
just gonna mention that, just reminded that the warming center opens tonight.
Tonight.
Tonight's the first night, and they intend to be open tonight, tomorrow, and the next day, because it's supposed to be below freezing all 3 nights. They're still a little bit short of volunteers, and if anyone wants to volunteer, I think they're 4-hour shifts. To contact Kathy Holston or myself.
And Ken Wright,
Ken-
or Peggy Marconi.
Yeah, there's lots of posts on Facebook about it, but if people can't find it, they want to volunteer, contact anybody in city council, and we can put you in touch there to help folks. Yeah, and then of course this December 7th meeting, there's a lot going on December 7th, 4 p.m. meeting at the Methodist Church. That's where.
That's for wraparound services.
Yeah, all the groups are coming in to try to come together and figure out where resources can be best used. And on council invited to that, encourage.
And that's from 4 to 7?
No, it's on the 7th at 4 p.m.
Oh,
Is that at the same time as the other meeting that's happening?
yes,
What's
Well,
the
it's-
other meeting?
the,
Rick Zylstra's.
for the,
Oh,
That's at
shoot.
6:30. That's at 6:30.
Oh, yeah.
Background meetings at 4 p.m.
Okay.
6:30 is the TGM codes meeting open house. And then also during the day, from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. here at City Hall, the Catholic Charities Organization will be here, and they'll be here every first Wednesday of the month to help people apply for discounts on their heating and utility bills. And depending on which program it is, there's lots of help out there, and they are in charge of helping everyone through Lane County do that. There will be more information sent out soon. This will kind of be the soft opening of this program, but it's going to be every first Wednesday from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. right here in this room. People can help fill out those applications. And they estimate that the majority of Oak Ridge citizens may be eligible for these programs, because we're over 45% under the poverty line, and a lot of programs.
first Wednesday, 10 to 3.
I'm gonna ask later.
What's the organization, the Catholic?
It's Catholic Charities of Lane County.
It's Catholic Community Services.
Thank you. Catholic Community Service.
Yeah, they do a lot of stuff, and for our area, really, it's the Springfield part of Catholic Community Services that we want to go through. So like if you lived here and you were to apply for LIHEAP, when you're 59 or younger, it would be through Catholic Community Services, and it would go to their Springfield location.
Yeah, but they're gonna come here physically, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's some great outreach, and I know that they're also working with DHS to talk about going into their office one day a week as well. So they've been doing some really good outreach.
Okay, great information, guys. Let's get back to Tink. So do we have a motion on the table for Tink? For the, oh, I don't know what you
There
call it.
hasn't been a motion made, no.
Would somebody like to make a motion? There is one recommended to allow power from the WAC.
I'll make a motion.
I'm waiting. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I move to allow the community not groups, to use the power from the WAC to serve meals to the homeless and coffee. That's Tink's.
Yep. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, motion made by Councilor Leadoff and seconded by Councilor Hooker. Is there any more discussion or questions for Tink? Go ahead, Councilor Kenyon.
Tink, my question is this just for the winter months while it's cold, or are you hoping to do this year round?
No, we do provide services year round, but we only provide the hot meals during the winter months.
Okay,
We provide other services during the other months.
So I think that maybe we should make a friendly amendment that we have an end date or beginning and end date. And would you have a recommendation for that, Tink?
What is the end date of the warming center? Because we're kind of trying to help supplement them too on the nights that they don't have enough volunteers, that we can actually get people warm and dry on those mornings.
Okay, James.
Personally, my recommendation would be to allow it as long as Tink's organization is willing to do it. I mean, it's so hard to get people to volunteer. In answer to your question, the warming center is only scheduled to operate through February, and that's it. And some of our winter storms have been in March, April, et cetera. So
Right.
the homeless don't need as much help during the summer.
Mhm.
So it's gonna,
In summer, we provide the food bags, but through the cold and wet months, it's really important to get them dry. It's hard to get them warm again once they're wet.
yeah.
So is there a friendly
Through
amendment?
March or April.
If Tink's recommendation is April, that's fine. Probably the longer the better. Longer than the warming center, because like she pointed out, it's not just the cold, it's the rain.
Right.
Why don't
Okay.
not amend it and leave it open?
Okay. Counselor Hooker, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that the motion, Counselor Splitoff specified group without the S. And this is for community groups that Tink is in charge of. So I
Oh,
would suggest,
I thought it meant other groups too.
that's why I asked that question earlier, Counselor Splitoff, was because I wanted to make sure.
By that. So when HIV Alliance comes, for example, they come and supplement our supplies with extra tents, sleeping bags, tarps, extra socks for us, so that we're not going through all of our supplies so quickly. So that's really helpful. And then when Veteran Services comes, they provide services. And by providing these meals in the last 3 years, we've assisted 9 people in getting into recovery. So.
And that's what I thought was.
Okay, I'll take your
They
friendly,
help.
amendment. I'll take your friendly amendment, Jan.
No.
I'll take your friendly amendment, Jan.
Audie, I don't think there was a friendly amendment.
I think
I thought,
Ken was saying, to make sure it's clear that it's community groups.
I know, but it's already there.
Right, but when Audie initially said it, he cut the S off, and now he's saying keep the S on there, community group.
Okay, Audie, would you mind just restating your motion so that it's clear on the record?
okay, I'd like to re-say my motion. I move to allow the community groups with the S to use power from the WAC to serve meals to the homeless.
And
Okay,
I'll second that.
motion made by Counselor Splitoff and seconded by Counselor Hooker. Are we good on discussion? All right, Jackie, will you call for the vote?
Counselor Whitney,
Aye.
Counselor Hooker,
Aye.
Counselor Coker,
Aye.
Counselor Splitoff,
Aye.
Counselor Bjornson,
Aye.
Counselor Kenyon,
I,
Mayor Hollett.
Aye. Motion carried. Thank you all. I do want to let the record show that we are at 8:24 right now. So I would like to end this meeting by 8:30. So we just have a couple little tiny things left. 9.8, the RFP for the Realtor of Record. Go ahead, James.
Okay, as we talked about at the last council meeting, we were talking about property sales. I got the gist from council that they thought having a realtor of record would be a good idea, because a lot of our properties that have been surplus are technically for sale, but they're not really being advertised anymore because we don't have a realtor of record. A realtor of record would help us do that. So right now, all I'm asking from council is to allow me to post the RFP to solicit bids for realtor of record. So in other words, you have the proposed RFP in front of you. There was one small correction that Councilor Kenyon found on page 10 that I got the year wrong. It was correct on page 1, not on page 10. So the contract, once we pick a realtor, will run from whenever they sign it, roughly in January of 23 through the end of 24, a 2-year period. And I put January 1, 2022. So I corrected that. But everything else, I think it looks good to me and Councilor Kenyon. So it's been gone through with a couple fine tooth combs. So yeah, again, this doesn't cost the city anything at this point. This is just to get the bids in. So you're probably asking, well, what's their commission going to be? Well, we're asking them to say, what is your proposed commission? Then we'll negotiate that. So this is just getting the process started. And I had suggested the closing date at the end of December, end of this month. Which was a little bit tight, but I know there's a couple of realtors already interested in applying. So my opinion is it's a little short, but it's still a month.
It's fine.
I move to allow the city administrator to post an RFP for realtor of record.
I'll second that.
Motion made by Councilor Kenyon and seconded by Councilor Coker. Is there any discussion or questions for James? Go
I
ahead,
just had a
Councilor
quick
Kenyon.
question. I like the way it was all written up, but it said something alluded to, like, at a certain time on the last day, you open up all the envelopes or something. Is that?
Sealed bids.
Yeah.
Okay, sealed bids. So then is it just you that makes the decision right then and there, or does it
No.
go to council?
It's gonna
or-
go to council.
Okay,
Yeah. That
That's just a fair process way to do it.
okay,
It's pretty standard.
okay.
that way nobody's tempted, like if it comes through the front office and 4 people see what
Yeah.
they've suggested and word might get out, not saying that my staff would do that because we're pretty tight, but
Yeah,
you just, yeah.
sealed bid.
Clean.
Okay,
Yeah, it's pretty
I
clean.
like it.
Are there any other questions from council? All right, Jackie, will you call for the vote?
Counselor Hooker,
Aye.
Counselor Bjornson,
Aye.
Counselor Whitney,
Aye.
Counselor Kenyon,
I,
Counselor Coker,
Aye.
Counselor Splitoff,
Aye.
Mayor Hollett.
Aye. Thank you, motion carried. And James, so that is the end of council, 9.9 minutes for June 28th. We have a motion for the minutes for June 28th.
I move we approve the minutes for June 28th.
I'll second.
Motion made by Councilor Kenyon and seconded by Councilor Splitoff. Is there any discussion on those minutes? Jackie, will you call for the vote?
Counselor Hooker,
Aye.
Mayor Hollett,
Aye.
Counselor Coker,
Aye.
Counselor Splitoff,
Aye.
Counselor Whitney,
Aye.
Counselor Bjornson,
Aye.
Counselor Kenyon,
I,
Motion carried. Thank you, guys. And that's end of business for city council, on to business from the city administrator.
All right, in your packets, I had a little spreadsheet for you to, because I was asked how much money did the city make from renting out the OIP. The answer is in total $46,816. However, don't get too excited because most of that, the 39,600, goes directly back into the OIP to reinvest. But of course, that's good for us because then we'll put in more water, sewer, maybe another flex building, et cetera. So the breakdown is here, how much we charge the federal government for renting spaces at the OIP. And we also had to pay to repair some damages like tire ruts and whatnot on the property. So I can't even remember if the counselor asked that information, but that's what it is.
How about the accident that happened with the water pipe? Does that come out of, or did they pay for that?
That was not, that wasn't their problem. That was what we initially thought,
Okay.
but
Well,
that
dang
was
it.
just a.
Go ahead, counselor.
So how come not the full amount stays in the OIP?
Because like $560 was for rentals for the Greenwater Park amphitheater.
If you look at it, it's all delineated.
I did look at it at home. I just didn't notice. I just thought.
Are there any counselors on Zoom that have questions about this? Okay. Go ahead, James.
Well, I don't have a question. I just have a comment, and that is that it'll be great when we have the WAC done and we can possibly rent out the WAC for some of this. Because then the city can realize some of that money.
Yeah.
So hopefully it's not because we're burning down.
But it will be.
I was just gonna say,
There
let
is that.
here, so we don't need to.
Other things, just real quick, you may have noticed Christmas lights are up around City Hall and the holiday tree as well. There's more coming. Harbor Freight gave us a little $300 donations. That was nice.
Nice.
As well. Speaking of the holiday tree, so the official tree lighting ceremony is on Saturday the 10th. However, there's a sneak peek tomorrow night, Friday night, at the First Friday Art Walk at 5 p.m. The tree will be on from 5 to 7 during the First Friday Art Walk. So if you want a sneak peek, that's tomorrow, 5 p.m. at Artworks. Yeah, yeah. So it'll just be those 2 hours, and we're turning them off. You have to wait till next Saturday. Yeah, so that's happening.
Is there gonna be a Santa at the Santa on the 10th?
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool.
And spots.
Cool.
Other things I'm working on just real quick. Got RFPs working on for obviously the real estate agent one. For the WAC, roof and electric, that'll be coming to you guys shortly, the new auditors. And then we got the official letter today that we did get approved for that small cities $250,000 grant for Ferry Street project. Now we'll be getting bids for that. So a lot going on in the RFP world. Shop with the Cop is going on with the police department on December 15th. Donations are being accepted through the police department or at City Hall. If they're closed, we'll make sure it gets to them. Again, that's for children in need. Cops take them shopping on December 15th. So if anyone wants to donate to that, great. And then, of course, yeah, everything on December 7th. And we'll post this on the website too. The 4 p.m. wraparound community services at the Methodist Church. Then at 6:30 is the code grant project open house for a couple hours. We are going to have this on Zoom as well, but it's better to be there in person. The way we envision it, there probably won't be a whole lot of input from Zoom. We'll record it and you can listen, but it might be too disruptive to have input. We're still working that out, but there will be a Zoom option, better option in person, City Hall on December 7th at 6:30 p.m.
It'll be here.
No,
In the
chambers,
Oh, okay.
because the floors are supposed to be done this weekend.
Better be.
Yeah. Union negotiations are starting soon, late January, probably maybe early February. So I don't anticipate any problems, but I probably just jinxed it by saying that. But hopefully that'll go smoothly.
Better go under the.
I was thinking the same thing.
I think that's it. Unless anyone has any questions.
First time union negotiator right there. Go smoothly.
Well, I mean, I just remember the union up until just a few months ago, right?
I think you're gonna do great. I'm just kidding. Okay, counselors, any questions for James? All right, as a reminder, we cut the executive session. I'll send out a poll so that we all can get together next week to finish this, do the evaluation. So be checking your emails and always contact me if you have questions. Public comment. No staff reports tonight, right? Nope. Okay. Public comment. Go ahead, Chief Martin. You can take your staff report spot.
Okay, well, I'm actually have just a quick public comment. Kevin Martin, 47713 Commercial Street, and this is for Boy Scouts. Says I'm involved in that with one of my children, but just this is a yearly thing. December 3rd from 8 to 3, and December 4th from 9 to 3. The Boy Scouts will be selling Christmas trees on the west end of the elementary school, and the trees that aren't sold will then be going up to Dinks after that to be sold throughout the Christmas season. So if anybody wants a Christmas tree, typically speaking, the Boy Scouts have a good deal for Christmas trees, and it helps the local kids out. That was all that.
And Sugar Plum is 9 to 2 Saturday, Sunday. Forgot Sugar Plum.
And thank you, reminded me something of Chief that I volunteered all of us to do, which the high school has festival of trees at the high school on Saturday. And I said that we would do one as council and city staff. So, so if anyone would love to help, I do believe Delaney Freeman said the police department would be putting together a tree and the fire department as well. So if anyone, any counselors or city staff would like to help, they already have the trees. They're going to be in the breezeway at the high school. And the way they do it is you come and decorate a tree with whatever you want. And then they take that tree that evening and donate it to a family in need of a tree. Yeah.
So we bring our own decorations.
Yeah, I mean, you bring your own decorations, something nice. In the past, we've done it for the fire department, and we did like little toys on the tree to kind of
Do like a theme.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was saying we should do fidgets. That's like the thing, you know, the little puppets and fidgets and stuff on the tree. I'll do it. I'll send it out.
We need to do it on Saturday. That's 2 days
Yeah,
from
it's
now.
Saturday.
We need to.
You guys
start
like it
tomorrow.
Friday? It's this
Oh my.
Saturday. I know. Anyways. Be
We
there.
need to send
Oh,
one.
we have Dan Barkley's hand up too.
I know. I'm gonna finish this part and then I'll go to public comment. Thank you, counselor.
We need to send one person to go shopping and get everything to decorate a tree, and then we'll
Do
divvy
it
up,
Saturday.
we'll divvy up and donate for the
Sounds good.
expense. I'm willing to do that.
Great idea.
Okay. We'll talk about that tomorrow.
Okay.
I have to go to town anyways tomorrow, but. Any other counselors or staff or anything else before public comment? All right, public comment, go ahead, Dan Barclay.
My apologies. I thought I was actually done, and I will try to keep it short based on the hour. But I just, without dwelling in the past, because I don't do that, I wanted to share a piece of history that I am the only resident in the city of Oak Ridge that has the experience. And if you want a second opinion, reach out to Jerry Shorey on McFarland Road. And I thought I was done until the summary for the 2021 audit. I'm sure there's a lot of excuses, and it's good that we don't have any material deficiencies, but I believe Counselor Kenyon briefed significant deficiencies that weren't material. Those two, and you haven't lived until you walk in with 3 lapsed audits and spend months with a forensic accountant to discover that $1.2 million has been siphoned out of the LGIP rainy day fund. Watch 30% of the city staff get their pink slips right into the unemployment line and fix things. The discrepancies as far as the second person check on the ledger entries and the second person checking, those were discovered and presented in, and I may have the years wrong, in the 7-8, 8-9, or 9-10 audit, the exact same discrepancies. There's plenty of excuses, I'm sure. There's absolutely no reason for those discrepancies. We can't unring the bell, but there were internal controls and procedures put in place, I believe, in early 2012. And then we hired the CPA at about $1,000 a month to be the second person on the monthly reconciliations. That can be done by any citizen, any public official, any resident of Oak Ridge can be that second person. Obviously, those internal controls and procedures have been ignored, destroyed, whatever, but not used, because here we are 14 years later with the exact same discrepancies discovered during the Zimmerman Plumlee fiasco that drove the city to the brink of becoming the first city in Oregon to declare bankruptcy. Feel free, audit committee, council, anybody, feel free to either go to the Secretary of State website and look at those audits, or look at the hard copies that should be somewhere in an archive, City Hall or WAC or wherever. Those are well-documented discrepancies that should have been fixed more than a decade ago, and we shouldn't be looking at it in 2022. And it's almost annoying and offensive, all that work to end up back at the exact same place. It's inexcusable. That's all I had to say.
We'll do that on the next audit too.
Thank you, Mr. Barclay. Is there any more public comment? Audie, are you able to see anybody else with a hand raised that I might not be able to see?
No one else. Linda Dunham has a green check mark up. That's the only thing I can find out. I don't know what that means either.
Okay. All right, well, that's all we have for you tonight, guys. Thank you very much for joining us. And meeting adjourned at 8:43 p.m. Have a good night. Everybody get better.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.